the issue here is that Michael Bell and the 5 other boys who were involved in beating up this white boy have committed a crime.
But the
Hold on
issue...
1 minute, Roland. Hold on, Roland. I think that it is a shame that adults who call themselves politicians and preachers, black people, will not or refuse to correct a violent act. All these black young people showed up for a rally that was not necessary. I think the saddest commentary about that
I disagree.
is that 50 years of brainwashing black Americans about white Americans, you now have a young generation of black folks who are growing up hating the white man.
Let's step away from the Jena Six and the criminal justice system and talk about the education. Let's talk about the reality of the people that live there. Let's talk about the reality of the hate groups that are in that area.
There are hate groups all around the country. There's skinheads, KKK, the NAACP is a hate group as well. But the problem is not the justice system. The problem is that the average black family is out of order.
Also the white family too, don't you agree?
You're
because
right.
I saw ignorance on both sides.
You're absolutely right. It is happening to the white family as well. But for the last 50 years, you know, the black family has been destroyed. And that's not going to change until black folks get married and turn away from these racist black leaders and judge people based on character and not color.
With us now is Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson, founder and president of BOND, the Brotherhood Organization of a New Destiny, a national nonprofit organization that helps inner city families, of which the Reverend works on a daily basis. Now, it disturbs me that there is so much tension across the country between black and white.
Yes.
Can you put your finger on why?
Well, the first thing, Bill, is that the black family is destroyed at this point, for the most part. But the primary cause of racism in our country today is people like Jesse Jackson, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, and Maxine Waters, the NAACP, the Black Caucus, Louis Farrakhan, and Al Sharpton and others. They have brainwashed black people. For the last 40 years, they have taught them to hate America, to blame their problems on white people. And now blacks are angry, and for the most part, not all of course, most of them are immoral and un-American.
I'm white! I'm entitled! There's a black man stealing my show!
This is another example of racism being taught from the pulpit.
Jesse, let me ask you this. Every kid that goes through Trinity Church, every one of them,
Yes.
because of what Reverend Wright and the rest does that mean that every one of those children are not qualified to be president of the United States?
And what it means is that they've been influenced by a racist black preacher, and we don't need that type of person running the greatest country in the world.
Reverend, is it plausible, given all these remarks, that Barack Obama did not know? You know, he says, I knew he made some controversial comments, but I never heard the most inflammatory ones.
This is the same teacher as Louis Farrakhan, and I have to tell you, there's no way at all that you could sit in a church for 20 years and then call the preacher your uncle or your spiritual leader and not know what he is about.
You want to maintain the status quo and you want a few Negroes to help you do it. Go to hell right now.
Where did any of the people that went after Don Imus, why didn't they go after Calvin Butts for saying, go to hell, white man?
That's right, because he's black. If a white preacher, including the KKK, espouses so-called white values, remember at one time the KKK was doing that. They were like, we're for white people, we're for our folks,
David
for white values. They got rid of those folks.
Yeah.
But when it happened with black Democrats, they're allowed to do it.
Let's walk through this. The people you mentioned, Jackson, Maxine Waters, Sharpton, are heroes in many black communities. They have very big following. But you're saying that they're not doing good for the African American community?
They're only heroes because most blacks don't really see what's going on. When you're angry, you can't see very clearly. And so what Jesse Jackson and others do is that they keep them angry by telling them, you need affirmative action, you need welfare, you need program. And if they don't get it, they say, well, white America, the white man doesn't want you to have it.
Keeping you down.
And keep you down. And as long as you're angry, and whoever is controlling you with that anger, you can't see. The friend looks like the enemy, and the enemy looks like the friend.
One past guest created a storm of controversy when he said he wouldn't hire a person with a black-sounding name. In your opinion, Jesse, the truth is that people with black-sounding names are angry?
Absolutely. That's why they create a so-called black-sounding name, because They want to separate themselves from white Americans and from America. You're an adult, you can change your first name. You have a right to change the first name.
Why
so
would I?
that it doesn't hold you back in life.
It's disrespectful.
What's disrespectful?
Your parents named you a name because that's what they wanted.
But had your parents loved you, they wouldn't have given you a black name.
So Jesse, every Maurice, you okay?
What is the solution for Black America? I mean, what can African Americans individually do to improve themselves?
Good question. The first thing they're going to have to do is pull away from group thinking. Most blacks are not able to think for themselves. They need to put their fathers and mothers back in their homes so that they can be the example for their children and not these so-called leaders of our country. They need to speak up and think as individuals, love what's right.
Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson, what is your response to these new statistics where we actually have more singles or more unmarried couples than we do the traditional family, two-parent household?
The problem is there is no more shame in the black community.
You talked about shame, Reverend Peterson, and,
yes.
and they did shame. They were terrible. They didn't say anything encouraging at all, and it did not breed excellence. Excellence came because it was something that God put inside me to make me look beyond all the negative.
And I think a lot of times if more of our men, if more of our people had more capital, and that's a whole other issue, that we would be able to take care of these children out here.
Let me ask you.
I grew up on a plantation in an area where we didn't have a lot of money. The laws were against us, but Black Americans had character. And they understood that in order to raise a family, that you need a father and a mother to be there together to guide their children in the right way to go.
I am assuming, and I may be incorrect, that Reverend Peterson is recommending a patriarchal model where men come back into the home and assert their authority as the head of household, and that is just not going to work in this day and age where people have opportunity, because it's oppressive to women.
You also say that the role of the mother in many cases is really destroying the son. How?
That's right. Very interesting chapter. Not all, of course, but most black women are angry. And they're angry because they don't have black men to help them. They don't have a husband or father in the home to help raise their children. But in their state of anger, they are destroying their children by turning them away from their father, by putting pressure on them that they can't handle. And the kids are coming up angry, and rather than dealing with that, they're telling the young boys and girls that it is not the parents, but it's racism.
Son, you can talk as long and as hard as you want. You can stop that old racist line. You sound like a white person. You don't sound like a black person. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what has happened to you. You make it some sort of political from this or what it is.
Well, you know, you, sir, are a good example of what's wrong in the black community, and that is most black men are weak. They're not in control of their own life. They don't know how to deal with the black woman. They have no sense of self-control. And until you get a sense of self-control, you're not going to ever get better. There is no African-American agenda. First of all, if you're born in America, and if you're a citizen of this country, you are an American. We're not African-American. That's a lie within itself. It's not a warfare between blacks and whites or whites against blacks. It's good against evil, right against wrong.
You are such a breath of fresh air. It's unbelievable.
Thank you.
Just the fact that you're standing up there taking all that persecution and you're taking it with a smile. And you're so right. As long as we are looking at somebody else, we can't look in the mirror and take personal responsibility and say, where am I going wrong?
You know, we just celebrated Dr. King's birthday last night.
Well, we were there at the same
it was
meeting.
Fun. Great speech, by the way.
So thank you.
But Dr. King's primary message was forgiveness. He said we have to overcome our enemies with good. But when he was assassinated, Jackson and the others, so-called civil rights leaders, the traitors, took the message of love and forgiveness and turned it to hate for their own personal gain.
We usually see it from Los Angeles. Welcome to New York.
It's good to be here.